The stars sparkled in the viewing window of General Catherine Hayes's office on the United Defense Force orbital station. At 52 years old, she had seen humanity reach Mars, Europa, and now even Titan. Their first colony ships were venturing beyond the solar system. Progress moved quickly in 2157. Catherine stood with her hands clasped behind her back, her gray-streaked brown hair pulled into a tight bun. The uniform she wore carried the weight of humanity's combined military might, even if that might seem small in the grand scheme of the universe. "General, we have a situation," said Lieutenant Frank Powell as he rushed into her office. His face was pale. "Our deep space sensors detected something massive entering the solar system. It's not one of ours." Catherine turned from the window. "Show me." Minutes later, in the command center, screens displayed the object. It was a ship, an enormous ship that made their largest vessels look like toys. "It's transmitting something," said Communications Officer Lily Scott. "A signal on all frequencies." The screens flickered and an alien face appeared. The creature had purple-tinted skin, 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and what looked like gills along its neck. "People of Earth," it spoke in perfect English. "I am Ambassador Zintax of the Alzerian Galactic Empire. We have been observing your world for some time. Your species has reached a developmental stage where contact is now appropriate. We will arrive at your planet in 3 of your days. Prepare to receive us." The transmission ended. The room fell silent. "How did they learn our language?" asked Powell. "They've been watching us," Catherine said quietly. "For how long, I wonder?" 3 days later, the alien ship hung above Earth, visible even in daylight, as a dark spot against the blue sky. Ambassador Zintax and 3 guards teleported directly into the United Nations chamber in New York, causing panic until security forces surrounded them. The world's leaders gathered hastily. Catherine stood at the back of the room watching carefully. Ambassador Zintax stood nearly 7 feet tall. His voice echoed through the chamber without need for a microphone. "The Alzerian Empire spans 3,000 star systems. We bring order and progress to the galaxy. Your world has been categorized as suitable for tributary status." "Tributary status?" asked the UN Secretary. "A beneficial arrangement," Zintax continued. "You will contribute resources to the greater good of the Empire. In exchange, you receive our protection." President Maria Rodriguez of the North American Union stepped forward. "And if we prefer independence?" All 4 of Zintax's eyes blinked slowly. "Independence is an illusion for developing species. The galaxy is dangerous. Without our protection, you would eventually encounter forces that would destroy or enslave you completely. We offer structure." Catherine listened as the ambassador outlined the terms. Earth would provide 30% of its mineral resources annually. 10,000 humans would be selected each year for service to the Empire. Earth would accept imperial governors and military bases. In return, they would receive limited access to some imperial technology and protection from other cosmic threats. "You have 20 Earth days to prepare your initial tribute," Zintax concluded. "We are generous to give you this time to organize your resources." After the ambassador departed, the chamber erupted into chaos. Catherine slipped away to make a call to her second-in-command, Commander Alan West. "Alan, activate Protocol Omega. I want everything we've got on standby." "Protocol Omega? That's full military readiness," Alan said, his voice tense. "You think we can fight these aliens?" "I don't know yet, but I'm not handing over our people as tribute without understanding what we're facing." Over the next few days, while world leaders debated submission versus resistance, Catherine quietly put pieces into motion. She sent intelligence officer Samantha Miller to hack into the communication systems of the alien vessel during a diplomatic visit. Samantha returned with disturbing news. "They've done this before, General. Dozens of times. The service they mention, it's basically slavery. And the protection? It's from their own forces that attack any world that refuses." Catherine called an emergency meeting with her senior staff in a secure bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains. "The Alzerian Empire is essentially a parasite," she explained. showing images Samantha had retrieved. They find developing worlds, demand resources and labor, and move on when they've stripped what they want. Those who resist are crushed and made examples of. Chief Engineer Daniel Garcia studied the technical data. Their technology is advanced, but not incomprehensibly so. Maybe 30 to 50 years ahead of ours. Can we fight them? Asked Captain Olivia Bennett, who commanded Earth's largest space vessel. Not directly, Catherine admitted. But I believe we can hurt them. Make the cost of conquering Earth too high. When the Global Council voted the next day, it was split, nearly evenly. Fear won by a small margin. Earth would submit to avoid destruction. Catherine was called to President Rodriguez's office afterward. I know you oppose the decision, Rodriguez said. With respect, Madam President, submission is a mistake. Once we accept their terms, we'll never break free. Rodriguez looked tired. What would you have us do, Catherine? Their ship alone could destroy our major cities in minutes. We have families to think about. And what future will those families have as imperial subjects, as slaves? Catherine kept her voice calm but firm. Let me prepare, just in case. If we change our minds, we should be ready. Rodriguez sighed. Do what you need to quietly, but the official position is compliance. Catherine left the office with grim determination. In her private quarters that night, she reviewed everything they knew about the Empire. Their numbers were vast, but their forces were spread across thousands of worlds. Their technology had weaknesses. All technology did. A week later, Ambassador Zintax requested another meeting with Earth's leaders. Catherine attended, standing silently along the wall as the ambassador spoke. We are pleased with your decision to join the Empire peacefully, Zintax said. Your first tribute will be collected in 12 days. Our ships will arrive to transport the resources and selected individuals. Selected individuals? President Rodriguez asked. How are they chosen? We will provide criteria. Strong, intelligent specimens are preferred. Zintax's gills fluttered in what might have been amusement. Though your species is barely sentient, by imperial standards you have physical attributes that make you useful for certain functions. After the meeting, Catherine watched the ambassador's ship depart for the larger vessel in orbit. The dismissive way he spoke about humans ignited something cold and hard inside her. That night, she gave the order to Alan West. Activate all sleeper agents in the colonies. Distribute the new weapon schematics to our manufacturing plants off-world. And get me Lieutenant Greg Summers. We have a special mission for our new stealth ship. When her aide asked if she was authorized to take these actions, Catherine simply replied, When the Empire comes to collect their tribute, they'll discover that humans don't pay tribute. We pay back. Lieutenant Greg Summers moved through the hallways of the secret base beneath the Pacific Ocean. Few people knew this place existed. Even fewer knew what was happening inside. He entered the main chamber where General Catherine Hayes stood before. A large screen showing the solar system. Red dots marked Imperial scout ships. Lieutenant Summers reporting as ordered, General, Greg said with a salute. Catherine turned to face him. At 32, Greg was one of Earth's best pilots. His record was perfect. Lieutenant, what I'm about to ask you to do is dangerous and completely unofficial, she said. If you're caught, the government will deny knowing you. Greg nodded once. I understand, ma'am. We've completed the stealth ship. It's untested beyond our solar system, but it's our best chance to gather intelligence on the Empire. She led him to a smaller room where a hologram showed a sleek black ship, unlike any other in Earth's fleet. Chief Engineer Daniel Garcia stood beside it, typing on a tablet. The Shadowhawk, Daniel said proudly. She absorbs sensor scans instead of reflecting them. As far as we can tell, she's invisible to Imperial technology. Greg walked around the hologram. Where am I going? To the edge of Imperial space, Catherine said. We need to know more about them. Their numbers, bases, technology. Most importantly, we need to find their weaknesses. You leave in 6 hours, Daniel added. I'll be going over the ship's systems with you until then. Meanwhile, in another part of the base, Intelligence Officer Samantha Miller worked with a team to decode more Imperial transmissions. The aliens didn't bother encrypting most of their communications. They believed humans couldn't understand their technology. They were wrong. Samantha rushed into Catherine's office later that day holding a tablet. "General, we've broken through. We can access their central information network." Catherine took the tablet. Pages of information scrolled past. "This is incredible, Samantha. It gets better. The Empire isn't as united as they want us to believe. There are rebellions on at least 12 worlds, and they're stretched thin trying to control everything." Catherine smiled for the first time in days. "Keep digging. Find me anything we can use." 3 days later, Greg Summers piloted the Shadowhawk past Neptune's orbit. The experimental engines worked perfectly. He left the solar system behind and entered the darkness between stars. His target was a small Imperial outpost in a nearby system. The mission: observe and gather data without being detected. "Shadowhawk to base, I'm approaching the target system," he reported. "Proceed with caution, Shadowhawk." Commander Alan West's voice came through. "Remember, observation only." The Uawa Imperial outpost orbited a gas giant. It was smaller than Greg expected. He carefully positioned the stealth ship in the shadow of a moon and began recording everything. Ships came and went. Most were small. The base itself had minimal defenses. For 3 days, Greg watched and recorded. He noticed patterns in their patrols, gaps in their sensor coverage. When a damaged Imperial ship arrived for repairs, he was able to scan its systems in detail. On the 4th day, something unexpected happened. A ship arrived that looked different from the others. It was clearly not Imperial design. "I'm seeing a non-Imperial vessel," Greg reported. "They appear to be trading with the Empire." "Can you identify them?" asked Alan. "Negative. But they're definitely not human." Greg recorded the meeting. The alien visitors seemed to be selling something to the Imperials. Before they left, Greg managed to intercept some of their communications. When he returned to Earth a week later, the information he brought back was invaluable. "The Kalari," Samantha said as they reviewed the data. "They're a trading species that moves between various empires and independent worlds." Catherine leaned forward. "And they're not loyal to the Empire? They sell to whoever pays. And according to this, they're not fans of the Alzerians. They call them purple thieves in their private communications." Daniel had been analyzing the technical data. "General, we've hit the jackpot. Their shield systems have a flaw. They modulate at predictable intervals. If we time our weapons just right, we could punch through." Catherine gathered her core team. Greg, Samantha, Daniel, and Alan all sat around a table in the secure conference room. Maps and data filled the screens around them. "The Empire thinks we're preparing their tribute," Catherine said. "Instead, we're preparing something else." She pulled up a plan on the main screen. "Operation Thunderstrike." Alan studied it. "This is incredibly risky, but it could work," Daniel countered. "With what we now know about their shields, our weapons have a fighting chance." "What about the other species they've conquered?" Greg asked. "Could they help us?" Samantha nodded. "I've been in contact with resistance groups on 2 worlds using the Imperial network. They're ready to help, but they need to know we're serious." Catherine pointed to key locations on the star map. "We hit these 5 points simultaneously. Small strikes, maximum damage. We show them and the rest of the galaxy that humans aren't easy prey." They worked day and night to prepare. Daniel and his team modified weapons based on the new information. Samantha coordinated with hidden allies among the stars. Greg trained pilots on the weaknesses they'd discovered in Imperial ships. All of this happened in secret, below the surface of public compliance. Above ground, nations gathered resources for the Imperial tribute. Lists were made of citizens who would be sent for service. The world watched in dread as the deadline approached. 10 days before the tribute was due, Ambassador Zintax returned with an Imperial battlecruiser. "We have come early to ensure proper preparation," he announced to the world leaders. His tone was suspicious. "Our sensors have detected unusual movements around your planet." President Rodriguez assured him everything was in order. The tribute would be ready on time. After the meeting, she called Catherine. "They're watching us closely now. Whatever you're planning, it needs to stop." "With all due respect, Madam President, it's too late to stop," Catherine replied. "They were always going to take more than they promised. The Empire doesn't make fair deals." "This is insubordination, General." "Yes, it is." Catherine's voice was calm. "You can court-martial me after. We've secured our freedom. If we survive." She ended the call and turned to Alan. "They're here earlier than expected. We need to accelerate the timeline." "The teams aren't fully prepared," he warned. "They'll have to be," Catherine said, watching the Imperial battlecruiser on the monitor as it took position above Earth. "Because that ship isn't here to collect tribute. It's here to establish permanent control." She pressed a button on her console. "All units, this is General Hayes. Operation Thunderstrike is now active. I repeat, Thunderstrike is active. May God help us all." The Imperial battlecruiser hung in Earth's orbit like a massive sword above humanity's head. Its dark hull absorbed sunlight, making it look like a hole in space. Smaller ships moved around it, scanning the planet below. In the hidden command center, General Catherine Hayes watched the Imperial ships on the large screen. Her team stood ready, tense but determined. "All strike teams report ready," Commander Alan West said. Catherine nodded. "And Captain Bennett?" "In position. Her team is aboard their ship, weapons hot." Captain Olivia Bennett and her crew of 50 were aboard Earth's newest warship, the Defiance. The ship looked small and harmless on the outside, but inside it carried weapons modified with Daniel's designs to exploit the Imperial shield weakness. Catherine took a deep breath. "Begin Operation Thunderstrike." Across the solar system, hidden ships powered up their engines. On Earth, defense platforms that had been disguised as weather satellites revealed their true purpose. The attack would come from multiple directions, at once. On the Defiance, Captain Bennett gave the order. "All hands battle stations. Engage stealth systems and prepare main weapons." The Defiance moved silently toward the Imperial battlecruiser. To Imperial sensors, it appeared to be nothing more than a small supply shuttle. In the Emperor's palace on the distant world of Alzira, Lord Azkar received reports from Earth. The Emperor had purple skin like all Alzirians, but his was darker, with age. Four eyes narrowed as he read the updates. "Ambassador Zintax believes the humans are hiding something," reported an aide. "Of course they are hiding something," Lord Azkar said. "All new species resist at first. It is their nature, but they will learn." Back on Earth, Ambassador Zintax stood in the United Nations building addressing world leaders. "Your tribute is inadequate," he said coldly. "The quality of your minerals is lower than required, and the humans selected for service are not the strongest specimens." President Rodriguez tried to explain. "We've given you what we promised." Zintax's gills fluttered with irritation. "The Empire does not accept excuses. Since you cannot organize yourselves properly, we will take control of the selection process." He touched a device on his wrist. "Imperial forces will now begin direct collection." On the screen behind him, images appeared of Imperial ships landing in major cities around the world. What Zintax didn't know was that this moment was exactly what Catherine had been waiting for. The Imperial ships were now spread thin, focused on collection rather than defense. "Now," Catherine ordered. Captain Bennett's voice came through the comm. "Engaging main weapons. Targeting shield generators." The Defiance fired its modified weapons at precisely the moment the Imperial shields cycled in their pattern. The energy weapons punched through, striking the shield generators. At the same time, 15 smaller ships attacked Imperial vessels around Earth. Each one targeted the same weakness. In space, Lieutenant Greg Summers led a squadron of stealth fighters against the Imperial ships landing on Earth. Their modified weapons tore through the surprised Imperial forces. Ambassador Zintax received an urgent message during his speech. His purple face darkened with rage. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded, looking at President Rodriguez. The president smiled for the first time in weeks. "It means humanity does not submit." Across the room, security teams that had been secretly replaced with Catherine's soldiers moved in and surrounded the ambassador and his guards. In orbit, the Defiance continued its attack on the battlecruiser. Its shields were down and it was vulnerable. "Boarding teams ready," Captain Bennett reported. "We're cutting through their hull now." Catherine watched the screens as humanity fought back, not just on Earth, but across the solar system. Imperial outposts on Mars and Europa were under attack. The carefully planned strikes hit the Empire where they least expected it. Samantha Miller coordinated the information war. Using the Imperial network they had hacked, she broadcast images of humans fighting back to every subjugated world in the Empire. "See this," her message said in dozens of alien languages. "Freedom is possible. Join us." On the Imperial battlecruiser, Captain Bennett led the boarding team. They moved through the alien corridors, facing resistance, but pushing forward. Their internal security is minimal, Bennett reported. They never expected anyone to get past their shields. Catherine's voice came through her comm. "Get to the bridge. Take control of the ship if possible." In the United Nations building, Ambassador Syntax was now a prisoner. His guards had been subdued without killing them. Catherine had been clear. They needed prisoners to show the galaxy that humans fought with honor. "You have made a terrible mistake," Syntax said, his voice shaking with anger. "The Empire will destroy your world for this." Catherine entered the room. She walked straight to the ambassador and looked down at him. "Your Empire has conquered many worlds by making them afraid, by making them believe resistance is hopeless." She leaned closer. "But humans are different. We don't give up. We don't surrender. And we certainly don't pay tribute to bullies." On the battlecruiser, Captain Bennett's team reached the bridge. The alien crew fought hard but were overwhelmed. Within an hour, the massive ship was under human control. "General, we've secured the battlecruiser," Bennett reported, pride in her voice. "The ship is ours." Catherine smiled. "Well done, Captain. Begin downloading all information from their systems." Across the solar system, the other strikes had similar success. The Imperial forces were caught completely by surprise. They had expected submission, not coordinated resistance. In the Emperor's palace, Lord Ascar received the news with stunned disbelief. "Impossible," he said. "They are primitives. How could they breach our shields?" His military advisor bowed low. "The humans appear to have discovered the modulation pattern, Emperor. They timed their attacks perfectly." Lord Ascar stood, his robes flowing around him. "This cannot stand. Send Fleet Admiral Krelvon with the 3rd Imperial Fleet. I want Earth destroyed as an example to all who would defy the Empire." Back on Earth, Catherine knew their victory was only the beginning. The Empire would respond with overwhelming force. "We have maybe 3 months before they send their main fleet," she told her team. "We need to use that time well." Daniel looked up from the Imperial technology he was studying. "With what we've captured, I can improve our weapons even more, and I'm making contact with resistance groups on 12 worlds," Samantha added. "They're ready to join us when the time comes." Catherine nodded. "Good, because this wasn't just a battle. This was a declaration of war against the entire Empire." She looked at the image of the captured battlecruiser on the screen. "And we're going to need all the help we can get." 3 months passed quickly. Earth changed in that time. Nations that once fought each other now worked together against a common enemy. The captured Imperial technology helped humans advance their own tech by decades in just weeks. General Catherine Hayes stood on the bridge of the renamed battlecruiser, now called the Liberty. What once belonged to the Empire was now humanity's greatest weapon. "Status report," she said to Commander Alan West. "The defense grid around Earth is at 90%. Mars colony has been mostly evacuated. The Jupiter and Saturn stations are armed and ready." Catherine nodded. She had aged in these months. The weight of leading humanity's defense showed on her face. "And our allies?" Samantha Miller looked up from her station. "The Novan Republic has committed 30 ships. The Kalari Consortium promises to disrupt Imperial supply lines. 7 other species have joined our alliance, but with smaller contributions." Catherine knew it wouldn't be enough against what was coming. Their spies, reported that Fleet Admiral Krelvan was bringing 200 warships, but they had advantages the Empire didn't expect. Daniel Garcia had worked day and night with his team, studying Imperial technology and finding more weaknesses. They had turned the Liberty into something new, a hybrid of human innovation and alien tech. Admiral, long-range sensors are picking up multiple ships entering the solar system, a young officer reported. It's them. Catherine's face hardened. All ships to battle positions. Begin Operation Scattered Stars. Unlike their first strike, which had been concentrated, this strategy spread their forces throughout the solar system. They would not fight the Imperial fleet directly. That would be suicide. Instead, they would hit and run, drawing the enemy apart. On the planet Alzira, Emperor Lord Askar received updates on the situation. The humans have allies? He asked in shock. How is this possible? His advisor trembled. It seems they used our communication network to reach out to other worlds. They shared the shield weakness with all subjugated species. Lord Askar's fury was terrible to see. Krelvan must not fail. Earth must be destroyed completely. Fleet Admiral Krelvan was the Empire's most decorated military leader, taller than most Alzirians with battle scars across his purple skin. He commanded respect and fear in equal measure. The humans think they can outsmart us, he told his officers. They forget we have conquered 1,000 worlds. Their tricks will not work. Twice. But as his fleet entered the solar system, they found no resistance. No ships came to meet them. The planet seemed almost abandoned. Where are they hiding? Krelvan demanded. His answer came when 30 small ships suddenly appeared behind his fleet. They fired, destroyed 3 Imperial vessels, and vanished again before they could be targeted. Stealth technology, Krelvan growled. Split the fleet. Find them. This was exactly what Catherine wanted. As the Imperial fleet divided, more human ships struck from different directions, always hitting their weak points, always disappearing. Before the Empire could respond, but the Empire had numbers on their side. Despite the losses, Krelvan pushed forward. His ships reached Mars and began a devastating bombardment of the colony. Catherine watched the images from Mars with pain in her eyes. They had evacuated most people, but not all. The colony, humanity's first foothold on another world, was being destroyed. We need to draw them away from Mars, she ordered. Captain Olivia Bennett commanded a fleet of 15 ships near Saturn. My team can create a diversion, Admiral. Catherine nodded. Do it, but be careful. Bennett's ships attacked an Imperial supply convoy, destroying 20 vessels before retreating toward Jupiter. As expected, a large portion of the Imperial fleet followed them. On Earth, Daniel worked with engineers to prepare their secret weapon. They had discovered that Imperial ships used a specific frequency for their engine systems. With the right pulse, they could disable multiple ships at once. The pulse generator is ready, Daniel reported, but we'll only get one shot at this, and we need them to be closer together. Catherine made a hard decision. Send the message to all our allies. It's time for the final phase. Across the solar system, their alien allies joined the fight. The Novan ships were small but fast, perfect for hit-and-run attacks. The Kalari, experts in sabotage, had infiltrated several Imperial vessels and disabled them from within. Fleet Admiral Krelvan realized too late that he was being manipulated. His fleet was now scattered across the solar system, chasing enemies they could barely see. Regroup, he ordered. All ships return to Earth orbit. We will destroy their homeworld and end this. The remaining Imperial fleet, still over 100 strong, gathered above Earth. Krelvan believed the humans had failed to protect their home. Begin the bombardment, he ordered. But before the first shots could be fired, the Liberty appeared directly in front of Krelvan's command ship. Catherine's voice came through on all Imperial channels. Admiral Krelvan, this is General Catherine Hayes of Earth. You have one chance to retreat. Krelvan laughed. You are brave, human, but foolish. My fleet outnumbers yours. Surrender now, and perhaps some of your species will survive as slaves. Catherine smiled. I was hoping you'd say that. Daniel activated the pulse generator. A wave of energy spread from the Liberty, washing over the Imperial fleet. Ship after ship lost power. their engines shutting down. Not all were affected, but over half the fleet was now dead in space. The remaining ships found themselves surrounded as Earth's defense grid came alive. Hidden platforms, automated weapons, and the rest of the human fleet emerged from stealth. "Fire," Catherine ordered. The battle above Earth was fierce but short. The disabled Imperial ships were easy targets. Those still functioning fought hard but were overwhelmed by attacks from all sides. Krelvan's command ship took heavy damage. The Liberty moved alongside it, and Catherine led a boarding team personally. They fought their way to the bridge where Fleet Admiral Krelvan waited. Unlike the other Alzerians, he held his ground, weapon in hand. "You have lost, Admiral," Catherine said. "The Empire never loses," Krelvan replied. "We may retreat, but we always return stronger." Catherine shook her head. "Not this time. Look." She showed him images from across the galaxy. On dozens of worlds, people were rising up against Imperial rule. "You're fighting a war on too many fronts now." Krelvan lowered his weapon slowly, as he understood the truth. "What have you done?" "We've given the galaxy hope," Catherine said simply, "and hope is more powerful than fear." The remaining Imperial ships retreated, carrying news of their defeat back to Alzira. Earth had won this battle, but Catherine knew the war was far from over. In her quarters later, she looked at the star map showing the vast empire. One battle wouldn't end 1,000 years of Imperial rule, but it was a start. "What's our next move?" Alan asked. Catherine pointed to the heart of the map. "We take the fight to them. The people of Earth don't just want to be left alone anymore. We want to free the galaxy." News of Earth's victory spread across the stars like wildfire. Species that had lived under Imperial rule for generations began to rebel. What seemed impossible before now felt within reach. Freedom. 6 months after defeating Fleet Admiral Krelvan, General Catherine Hayes stood before the first meeting of the Galactic Alliance of Free Worlds. Representatives from 23 species filled the large chamber in the United Nations building. "We have all suffered under Imperial rule," Catherine said. "Today we stand together against tyranny." The alliance grew stronger each day. More ships, more allies, more hope. But the Empire was still powerful. They controlled thousands of worlds, and Earth had made them angry. On Alzira, the Imperial capital, Emperor Lord Azkar faced growing problems. Rebellions everywhere. Supply lines cut. His own advisors whispering against him. "The humans must be destroyed," he told his war council. "Gather all our forces. We will crush Earth once and for all." But not everyone in the Empire agreed. A group of high-ranking officials met in secret. They feared the Emperor's obsession with Earth would destroy everything. "He ignores the rebellions on our core worlds to focus on one planet," said Minister Vexra. "This is madness." That night, as Lord Azkar slept, assassins entered his chambers. By morning, the Emperor was dead. Minister Vexra took control and declared himself the new Emperor. His first act: recall all forces to defend the core Imperial worlds. On Earth, Samantha Miller received the news through their intelligence network. "The Emperor is dead," she told Catherine, "killed by his own people." Catherine considered this information carefully. "This is our chance. While they're disorganized, we strike at their center." The plan was bold. Too bold, some thought. Attack. The Imperial capital itself? But Catherine saw the opportunity. Their intelligence showed that most Imperial forces had been pulled back to stop rebellions on major worlds. Alzira was vulnerable. Captain Olivia Bennett would lead the mission. Her ship, the Defiance, had been upgraded with the best technology humanity and their allies could create. "Get in. Broadcast the truth. Get out," Catherine explained. "Show the galaxy who the Empire really is." For years, the Empire had hidden their true nature from many of their subjects. Core worlds lived in luxury while outer worlds suffered. Most citizens didn't know about the brutal tactics used to control rebellious planets. Samantha had collected proof of everything. Imperial, orders to destroy entire cities, records of millions sent into slavery. evidence of resources stolen from hundreds of worlds. If the people at the heart of the Empire saw this, the government might collapse from within. The Defiance left Earth with a crew of 50 humans and 20 aliens from various Alliance species. They traveled through secret routes mapped by the Kalari, avoiding Imperial patrols. Meanwhile, Catherine prepared the main Alliance fleet. They would attack the Empire's largest military base in the Orion sector. This would draw attention away from Alzira and destroy the weapons that could threaten free worlds. Fleet Admiral Krell Von, now a prisoner on Earth, watched these preparations with growing respect. "You should have killed me," he told Catherine, during an interrogation. "That's the difference between us and the Empire," she replied. "We don't kill prisoners." Krell Von studied her. "You really believe you can defeat 1,000 years of Imperial rule? I believe people who taste freedom will never accept chains again." 3 weeks later, Captain Bennett's ship reached Alzira. Using special cloaking technology developed by Daniel Garcia, they entered the planet's atmosphere undetected. The capital city sparkled below them, towers of crystal reaching toward the sky. "Begin transmission," Bennett ordered. Across Alzira, screens in homes, public places, and government buildings suddenly changed. The Imperial symbol disappeared, replaced by images of what the Empire had done across the galaxy. The truth, hidden for centuries, now played for all to see. The new Emperor, Vex Ra, ordered the broadcast stopped, but the Defiance had hacked into the central system. Nothing could stop the transmission until it finished. Citizens who had lived in comfort, believing the Empire brought peace and order, now saw the cost of their way of life. They saw worlds burned, species enslaved, resources stolen, and they saw the resistance. Humans and 24 other species fighting together against Imperial forces, not as savages, as Imperial propaganda claimed, but as people fighting for freedom. At the same time, Catherine led the Alliance fleet against the military base in the Orion sector. The battle was fierce. Imperial forces fought desperately to protect their superweapons, planet killers designed to destroy any world that rebelled. "Target the main reactor," Catherine ordered. "All ships, focus fire." The Liberty, once an Imperial battlecruiser and now the Alliance flagship, led the attack. Daniel's latest modifications gave their weapons even more power against Imperial shields. On the military base, Imperial Commander Zexitor realized they would lose. He gave the order to activate the planet killers. If the Empire would fall, they would take as many rebel worlds with them as possible. "The weapons are powering up," Alan reported to Catherine. "We need to destroy them now." Catherine pushed the Liberty forward, closer than was safe. All power to forward guns. The Liberty fired everything it had at the base's reactor. For a moment nothing happened, then a small explosion, then another, then a chain reaction that tore through the entire base. The planet killers never fired. The base, along with its weapons, was destroyed. Across the galaxy, Imperial forces found themselves under attack from all sides. Without central leadership, cut off from each other, many surrendered. Some fought to the end. The Empire began to break apart. On Alzira, citizens took to the streets. Not all believed what they had seen in the broadcast, but enough did. The Imperial Palace was surrounded by angry crowds demanding answers. Emperor Vexra fled the planet with his loyal guards. The Empire's heart was thrown into chaos. 6 months later, representatives from over 100 worlds gathered on Earth. The Galactic Congress, they called it. Former Imperial worlds, independent planets and species that had hidden from the Empire for centuries, all coming together to build something new. Catherine Hayes, now known throughout the galaxy as the Liberator, addressed the Congress. Year ago, the Empire came to Earth demanding tribute. They thought we would submit like so many before us. They were wrong. She looked around at the diverse faces watching her. In their arrogance, they never imagined their demands would lead not just to their defeat, but to a new age of freedom for the galaxy. Ambassador Zintax, still a prisoner but allowed to attend the Congress as an observer, approached Catherine after her speech. "I still don't understand," he said. Your world was so primitive compared to the Empire, your ships so few, your technology so basic. How did you defeat us? Catherine smiled slightly. You demanded our submission when you should have offered friendship. The Empire saw our physical technology and thought us weak, but you missed our greatest strength. Which is? Zintax asked. Humans never accept that something is impossible just because we're told it is. When faced with overwhelming odds, we don't give up. We get creative, we adapt, we find allies, and we never, ever stop fighting for freedom. She looked out at the stars visible through the Congress Hall's massive windows. The galaxy is entering a new age now, not one of empires and tribute, but of cooperation and respect. And humanity will help build it, alongside all our new friends among the stars.